rush in where angels fear to tread.
Greetings again from the ever wonderful King Edward VII Hospital. Well, I have to say, today has been somewhat less painful than yesterday, which was particularly painful. And I also had the great pleasure of seeing my surgeon, the wonderful Paul Culpen. So, fingers crossed, in a year from now, I will be dancing. But we're not going to bog down with all of that when we have fun to be had in rather lighter fare, which I would suggest that we nibble on, shall we? So, I'm going to plunge in with what Pat says. Lady C, what do you make of the kerfuffle over BBC journalist Rajini Vaidyanathan, staunch Republican, who does not wish to accord the Princess of Wales with her correct title and kept on referring to her as Kate Middleton? Well, I will say, in fairness to Rajini Vaidyanathan, that many of the newspapers do the same thing, and they're not accused of being Republican even when they are. And she evidently is a staunch Republican, and if she wrote it herself, which it appears she did, it's disrespectful, it's inaccurate, it's quite frankly ridiculous, but I suppose there is a rationale behind it. Now, let us not forget that the BBC at the moment is in the searchlights, so to speak, because a lot is coming out about the malignancy of the BBC and their political philosophies and their orchestration of the news, twisting it to suit their actual agendas. And this is but the tip of the iceberg. I have been trying to make the point for some time now that we are nowadays in an existential, shall we say, challenge. The way in the 19th century, in the year of the revolutions of 1848, Europe was in a similar crisis situation. And what is happening with the BBC is symptomatic of what is happening generally. We have all sorts of issues with the governance of this country. Who has been running this country? Who has been ignoring the electorate of this country? Who has been setting the agenda, and for how long they have been setting it? Now, the BBC has been setting an agenda that was definitely against the electorate's choices for well over half a century. Some of this is coming to light now, and it's being obscured in some ways because we, the United Kingdom, are supposed to be the primary allies of the United States, which means of this present government in the United States. And we are clearly, as a government, working against the successes of the present American regime. There is basically a struggle going on between true liberalism and faux liberalism, passing itself off as true liberalism, but actually involved in trying to create an orthodoxy that accords with the visions of the Fabian Society, which have been in place in this country since the 1880s. And I don't want to go too deeply into it, beyond saying that Rajini Vaidyanathan is typical of her type. Should they be brought into line? Well, they should certainly be referring to people by their legal names. Let's put it that way, whether it suits them or not. I'm pretty damn sure they're not going to be referring to Sarah Ferguson as the Duchess of York ever again. And I'm pretty damn sure they're not going to be referring to Prince Andrew as Prince Andrew ever again. So maybe the downgrade works only in one direction. But this is just like one little silver ball on a well-decorated wedding cake. There's an awful lot in this country that needs to be dealt with. And let us see how it all pans out. I make no pretense. I am a liberal conservative. I believe in conserving that which is desirable and in changing that which should be changed. I also believe, rather like the Fabians, slow gets you there more effectively and keeps you there longer. But make no mistake about it, what is going on in this country, in Europe, in the United States, and in the rest of the world is the tectonic plates of power and influence shifting radically from the old Europeanized order to a new world order. And there is no way that anybody who overplays his or her hand is going to be able to prevail in the longer term. Oh, sorry, there were two parts to the question. Sorry. And what about the Wayfarer side trying to get Blake's case struck out? You used to post really interesting stuff about it on X, quoting your Hollywood A-list friend. Thanks for remembering that. Seems quite a while ago. I've been so busy and so much has been going on even before this accident. Well, I made it very clear that I was told that Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively were regarded as poisonous, ominous, destructive, and for the high jump. And that even if something of his career could be salvaged, nothing of hers ever would be. Brian Friedman is a brilliant lawyer. Judge Lyman has turned out to be an exceedingly sensible and cautious judge. He has not been precipitate. He has bent over backwards to give Blake Lively every chance to prove her accusations. Accusations which it is very clear were orchestrated, shall we say, on a bed of sand for the sea to come in and wash away. She has used every dirty trick in the book and taken advantage of every underhanded and, quite frankly, dubious legal ploy to not only set up a situation where she would be able to pose as an innocent when she was guiltier than sin, but that she and her husband would be able to snatch not only from Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer their just deserts, but that they would set up the situation where Colleen Hoover with them would end up gratis a new relationship with Sony, would be able to trip away into the sunset, having effectively stolen Justin Baldoni's hard work, his concept, and his reputation. And she has not calculated on the fact that usually when you are a slug slithering across a slab, that you're going to lead a trail of slime. And she has done precisely that. There is no evidence, and never was, to anything to do with SH. On the contrary, I pointed out at the time that my information was that if anybody fancied anybody, it was she who fancied Justin Baldoni. And now it emerges that there is a clip that he has provided to the court in this strike out action, where she unscriptedly goes up to him and kisses him, totally uninvited. Sorry. When he made a comment that an item of clothing in certain situations was sexy, she spun that he was accusing her and harassing her by calling her sexy when he did no such thing. And I was told that a lot of this was due to the fact that Ryan Reynolds had just cause to be jealous. And that's why the thing has evolved the way it did. Because you see, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds decided that they were going to hijack the movie when they realized it was most likely going to be an outstanding success. He then saw the rushes. If you cast back to what I've said before, he then saw the rushes. This is what I was told. And he went ballistic because her modus operandi with him and with other men has been to use the attributes God gave her to drop good fruit in the path of the hungry. And there was a recognition that took place. And he realized that their sweet Blake had the hots for Justin Baldoni. Well, there is no evidence whatsoever that she can furnish that proves that he fancied her. But there's an awful lot of evidence emerging And the latest one is her crossing over, kissing him gratuitously, and walking on. I think if ever anybody deserved their comeuppance, the way Blake Lively does, it's got to be a turd the colour of amber, or a Markle that sparkles like Megsy Baby. I can't wait to see her utterly and completely humiliated. I think she is the worst sort of woman. I think she uses all the difficulties that happen to other women, steals them, claims that she is victimized the way other people are, when she is clearly the perpetrator, not the victim. And if she doesn't like what I'm saying, let her do something about it, and she'll discover that every now and then she will come across somebody who is at least as tough as she is. However, that other person has the merit of being true and decent. Let's leave it at that for the moment. In Light says, from my memory, 1234, for Lady C's comments on Judge Lyman in the Blake Lively case, but all of 740 to 20 is relevant. Give her enough rope to, hang herself. Wayfarer motion for summary judgment is brilliant. Yes, it is. Hopefully, it will work. It might fail, and I'm going to tell you why it might fail. Summary judgments can be easily bypassed as long as the other side can show it has an arguable case, not a winnable case, an arguable case. That's British English common law. New York, to the best of my knowledge, also is based upon English common law. Let me continue with the question. Always fascinating, Lady C. I minimized my paying any attention to the two grifters, but always appreciate your observations. Heal and rest well. You are such a rock doing videos under the circumstances. Thank you. I'm trying my best. And actually, it gives me a level of equilibrium and normality, which is very much needed at this time. I think between Meghan Markle, Blake Lively, and Amber Heard, we have had archetypal examples of womanhood at its absolute worst. Where these women go wrong is in thinking that because they can dupe one or two suckers, and suckers in more ways than one, that they can fool the rest of the world. And poor Blake Baby Love evidently lit a spark in dear sweet Ryan, who I gather is as sweet as strychnine and equally deadly. I mean, some of the things he has done and they have done. I mean, for instance, the filth that he put into his daughter's mouth repeatedly. I mean, how nobody has done him for child abuse is beyond me. I knew it, says, and that's EYE. Meghan panicked over the Kim Meg pic because it revealed just how short she actually is, standing next to the 5'2" Kim. And in the other pic, it showed how Chris towered over her. I believe she is 6 feet in her deluded mind. Well, she's also a ravishing beauty. She definitely has the best figure of anybody, including the Princess of Wales. I mean, Catherine is dumpy compared to Meghan. Meghan has these fabulously long and slender limbs, this fabulously narrow torso. Meghan is the archetype in the ectomorph of femininity, while Catherine is a squat, dumpy little jerk. And of course, Kim Kardashian has curves everywhere that Meghan doesn't have. Let's not even go there. But it's interesting to read out what some of the comments are, because even if I don't agree with them, they're so funny. So, Carol B says, Lady C, the photo of her with Kim Kardashian looked as if Kim was throwing shade at Meghan Markle by looking as if she was posing holding her baby bump to me. Just curious if it appeared to anyone else that way. Yes, actually did. It did. I thought, that's slightly subtle. I thought it was really rather subtle. And I thought it was the act of a frenemy, not a friend. So yes, I picked up on that one too. And Northern Farm Girl says, Meghan was fully aware of how much the Kris Kardashian, actually she's Kris Jenner, number 70 bash would give her some clout no matter what. Those two fools looked loco. And I'm going to read out the next comment and wrap it up in one, because Lisa Belk says, Meghan Markle would be unwise to cross Kris Jenner. Meghan Markle has already crossed Kris Jenner. Because, depending on whom you believe, and I know whom I believe, Meghan thought she was going to play the victim at the Jenners' expense, and they didn't allow it. Because remember, they issued a statement saying there was no form, that nobody signed the form, that the Sussex camp was insisting they had been given and they had signed, disallowing any footage or photographs of Meghan looking like a desperado out for the last chance, and Harry looking spaced out of his mind, drunkenly or highly enjoying every moment of being in the lap of vulgarity. I think somebody who knows some of the parties rather well has made an interesting observation, which is that as long as it suits Kris Jenner, she is going to forgive, if not forget. And any day it doesn't suit her, and the day could be today, it could be tomorrow, it could have been yesterday, she is going to make sure that Meghan never gets another chance to dump on her the way she has dumped on everybody else. Because let's remember, Meghan has a history of dumping on people. She dumped on her father, who, before it suited her to disassociate herself from him, was covered in praise for being the wonderful father and the kind, considerate, loving man who worked himself to the bone and actually literally bankrupted himself to give her every luxury and every chance that she could avail herself of. And also, let's not forget, built her up to the extent, it has to be said, ill-advisedly, because he's the one who led her to believe that that farcical letter that she and the rest of the school wrote when she was 11 years old made a difference, when it made no difference whatsoever. But that's just one of the people she's dumped on. She dumped on Prince Philip, knowing that he was dying. Why? In my opinion, because Prince Philip had tried to talk Harry out of marrying her. Because as far as Prince Philip was concerned, Meghan Markle was the sort of woman that you go to bed with. You don't even necessarily get up in the morning to, and you certainly don't marry. Then there was the Queen, who gave Meghan every chance. Every chance. And look how Meghan repaid the Queen. Then there was the present King, who gave Meghan every chance as well. And how did Meghan repay the kindness that Charles showed her? By filling Harry's ears up with a whole heap of rubbish about how malignant Camilla and Charles are, and how he's racist. He's really worried that my son, the one I'm pregnant with, is going to be too dark. When, of course, the reality is they were all hoping the babies would be dark. And, of course, it's turned out they've been as fair as you could expect from any child that has a little or no sub-Saharan blood whatsoever. Let's leave it at that for the moment. M.L. says, the witness statement might even have been submitted by Harry's lawyer to the court in good faith. Of course. Goodness gracious, did you just see that pig fly over? Could it be the morphine? Or could it be that I'm actually seeing the reality of what's going on? The witness statement might even have been submitted by Harry's lawyer to the court in good faith. Don't know about that, when there's doubt as to who signed it. But of course, they're going to say that he signed it, and hope that that version, if it doesn't stick, at least doesn't unstick them. But the public recanting by the witness months ago, if not years ago, by different accounts, should have required the statement be formally pulled back from the evidence, or a formal statement about the witness recanting be added. failure to do so should be the same as knowingly submitting a false witness statement. I don't think anybody's going to argue with your conclusions in that regard. It will be really interesting to see if this case gets to court and if associated newspapers win hands down, whether Associated makes an application to the court for the police to be called in to investigate the serious possible crimes that it will have emerged appear to have been committed. Customarily, that sort of thing only happens in the most extreme of cases where civil litigation is concerned. But I can't think of a more extreme case than this would be when the costs involved are calculated at £38 million. I don't think I need say any more, do you? Mac Machine says, "You got the Jenner thing wrong. They, the Kardashians, have since pushed back to tell the world there was no consent forms for anybody. So the Markles made this up. The Kardashians took the pics down." There have been so many stories back and forth about this that where the truth lies is open to question. But I don't think what's open to question is Meghan's stupidity, Meghan's inability to not overplay her hand at every turn, Meghan's aptitude for self-sabotage, Meghan's destructive tendency to try to shaft those to whom she should be grateful. It is truly unbelievable that this frowsy little nonentity of no talent whatsoever, except in one department which I am not going to even go into. But I understand that such talent is fierce when the desire to, shall we say, entice is involved. That she would be dumb enough to think that she was going to be able to cover up for Harry looking as if he was stoned out of his mind, and she looking as if she was one step away from the last chance saloon. Gimme every opportunity. I'm so desperate. Embarrassingly awful, their conduct. And of course, they always put a spin on it. And for them to have planted the stories which they would appear to have been the ones who planted about this non-acceptance of photographs. Well, Kris Jenner and Kim Kardashian have got everything they wanted. They got Harry and Meghan at the party. They got Meghan to humiliate herself. They've got Meghan to make it apparent to the world that she is a calculating, manipulative hustler who is an ingrate and bites the hand that feeds her at every turn. For them, it's a win-win. For Meghan, it's another one of the lose-loses that she is so adept at creating. I mean, she should go down in history as a textbook case of failure, an archetype of failure that is truly incredible. Piebald says, Lady C, have you not heard about the American publication, The National Enquirer? Of course, darling. I'm old enough to know about that old rag. Been around since I was a child. This week's cover was plastered with a picture of Meghan Markle entitled, Why Does Everyone Hate Meghan Markle? I was at my grocer's on Tuesday when I saw it, but none of my YouTubers have mentioned it. Is it because the National Enquirer is not available in England? I didn't buy the issue, but my heart was greatly comforted seeing that title writ large. Well, I suspect the reason why nobody has covered it is that nobody has known of its existence. Ironically enough, the National Enquirer has an excellent reputation for occasionally doing fabulous investigative work. So it's been 95% Martians arrived on Venus, Meghan Markle arrived, they shot her to Uranus, and now she's splattered everywhere. Along with the occasional absolute spot-on story. Some of their investigative work over the decades has been excellent. But of course, it's interspersed with 98% of dross. I suspect the reason why nobody over here has commented on it is because nobody over here knows of it. But when the National Enquirer joins the list of publications, Hollywood Reporter, Vanity Fair, Page 6, all of whom have made it clear that Meghan Markle is yesterday's woman and likely to remain so ad infinitum. We know that we are hopefully at the tail end of a saga that is going to maybe have a soft landing. It would be very nice if it did have a soft landing. Maybe it won't have a soft landing. Maybe it will have a very hard landing. Maybe some lobotomized idiot billionaire is going to fall in love with Meg's baby. And my goodness, did you just see that pig flying just out of sight? I just saw it. Did you see it as well? I hope you did. And on that note, I'm going to say thank you very much for listening. Hopefully you have found this a little bit fun, and let me know what ground you would like us to be covering. Okay, thank you so much. Take good care. Godspeed. And if you have truly enjoyed this, would you care to like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and take good care. Bye-bye.